Good afternoon, my name's Tom, and this is the long-form video of the Trump versus Biden post-debate commentary. So, if you bothered watching, and I don't blame you if you didn't, it's important to limit your consumption of that kind of negativity. We'll start with what's the purpose of the debate, and that is to win over undecided voters. It's not for the already decideds. It's not for the riding with Bidens, and it's not for the ultra MAGAs. It is to convince people who have not yet made up their mind that, hey, I'm your guy. So now we'll start with Biden. And that was an unmitigated disaster. Because, yeah, he's sharp on policy, knows how the government works, is actually building a sustainable, economic future, despite what critics invent about it. None of that matters. Even if you agree with that statement, none of that matters to the undecided voter. If they were already believing that, they would have already decided. So basically, he needed to provide personality, energy, something that they could get behind, that they feel safe. Because at this point, for these folks, it's an emotional thing. You know, they have to feel like this is the right man for the job. And, he came out, started poorly, kind of picked up in the middle, and ended on a down note in terms of energy, presentation, personality. All right, so what does this mean for the Democratic Party? Well, they just came to understand what their base has been trying to say for years, and has been saying for years, and they've been ignoring. This is a problem. Y'all are too old. You should have retired years ago. Like, you should have ended on a high note a long time ago. Let the next generation in. And this is going to affect down-ballot elections for the Democratic Party, possibly, because what is supposed to motivate and incentivize turnout for them isn't happening. Now, let's look at the Trump side of things. Less apparent, but still kind of a disaster. See, with Trump, it was never about developing, policy. It was always about developing personality and emotion. Except it's always been negative emotion. It's always been aggression. It's always been personal attacks. And so he's already got those voters. It's like you're not going to, that base is set. And that's not going to change. But the undecided voter, that's actually what's turning them off. So he needed to show up with policy. He has not. He needed to convince people how great things were. Well, his base will declare victory on that no matter what reality is. Recession warning signs began in 2018. They don't believe it. They didn't believe it then. They don't believe it now. Unemployment was up, GDP was down. They didn't believe it then, they don't believe it now. Unemployment has gone down, GDP has gone up. They don't believe it now, and they're not going to believe it on election day. So he needed to show up and actually provide some reality and policy, which he couldn't. He made more false statements than he made true ones. Now, it's not as apparent of a disaster as Biden, because that's kind of standard for Trump. It's always personal attacks. And one time the man managed to fit 9 false statements into a single tweet. I don't know how you do that in 277 characters, but he pulled it off. So what does this mean? Well, the Republican Party's got to be suffering in down-ballot elections too, because the independents and undecideds aren't interested in that BS either. Basically, both sides lost. Now, I know, there's a lot of people who are going to declare victory no matter what. They could lose the popular vote twice and the electoral vote once and still say, we won. And they could lose a couple hundred recounts and several audits and 60 court cases, and they'll still declare victory. You're not going to fix those people. That's like arguing with the homeless guy bumming change in front of the 7-Eleven. It's a waste of time. Don't bother. Save your breath. You know? Why argue with a drunk if there's no win condition? With the folks who will claim those victories, exact same principle. So basically, yeah, this debate was a waste of time. An absolute waste of time. Not at all worth seeing. Save yourself the frustration. Don't bother.